So that's the business mindset of speaking is not just getting on stage. In fact, very little of speaking is being on stage. It's the whole sales process and the behind the scenes.
Oh, that's so good. To your point that you previously made about people feeling, I just need to get on another stage, I just need more opportunities. If you're not strategic on the front end of what do I need to potentially automate, how do I ensure that my team knows what the win is? Welcome to Speakers and Stages, the series that goes beyond the mic and behind the scenes of powerful events. I'm your host, Lena Castle, event strategist and speaker experience expert. Yes, we're going to sit down and talk with event industry experts from backstage chaos to center stage clarity. This is where the strategy meets the spotlight. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Speakers and Stages. Okay, I have been waiting for this conversation and I'm so excited for this particular conversation because today's guest, she's a TEDx speaker, a speaker strategist, a woman for women entrepreneurs, a professional singer, a triplet mom, and she moved from Brazil here to the United States and built an incredible coaching business. Like her whole mission is turning your voice into clients. So please welcome the one and only Marta.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited for our conversation as well.
I'm so excited, finally. And I just want to just jump right into the mix and the core of what you do because you help women entrepreneurs. You help them create what you call as a signature talk. And for someone who has never heard that term, what exactly is a signature talk? And why does every speaker even need one?
Yes. A signature talk essentially is the core of their message, is a beginning, a middle, and an end. What I believe is the foundation to their brand and what they do. So many people struggle with talking about who they are and what they do because they're trying to put it in a sentence. And I feel like creating the talk makes it a lot easier because then you understand what is most important to even put in that sentence when you do elevator pitches, right? Because essentially the structure of it is storytelling. So, what are personal stories that connect you with what you do and why are you credible? It's the different client testimonials and stories that you can add to drive your points across in the lessons that I like to call audience centered lessons. So, it's not about me as a speaker, it's about what you get out of these stories and my points. And it's the call to action. How can people work with you at the end? Which a lot of people get confused with that and they miss that point. And that's one of the most important points is where do we go from here after
Yes.
you're off the stage? So that's what the signature talk is.
Yes. Now, you said something really important, and that's that call to action that a lot of speakers may miss. What are some examples of call to action? Because, for example, you may not be able to sell from the
Right.
stage. So, what are some call to actions that you know help?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a whole module in my program that says, how do you end your talk? And it depends. It depends again on what the guidelines are, because some events say don't sell from stage, which quotation marks because you're always selling. So your entire talk is a sales pitch, obviously with value. But if you're doing it right, that's what it should be. It's not just at the end, buy my course. Like the entire thing should lead to something. But to answer your question, as you're starting out as a speaker, the call to action could be, can you review me using Talkadot? Give me a testimonial because I need to put this in my speaker page
Yes.
and my speaker reel and all the different things. And you're not going to ask people to do a million things. So that's what I usually tell my newbie speaker clients is you need some testimonials. This is going to be your initial call to action. Then it could be, I need more email subscribers. So I'm going to offer a free resource so then at least they can connect with me afterwards. And if I'm smart, I'm going to find them on social media as well. Once they subscribe, I'm going to have a
Yes.
conversation, right? Or it could be, let's schedule a call, especially if you're a service provider and you work high ticket offers, one-on-one interactions like with clients. You want to have a discovery call. So that could be your call to action. And that is actually even more profitable than saying, buy my $500 course, which that could be it. In some speaking scenarios, organizers ask you to auction off an item. And
Yes.
that's where you could put a course in there, or you could put a longer strategy session that is typically paid, but it's also a way to turn that into a discovery call, right? And an upsell once they get a taste of your work. So these are some ways.
Now, quick question. In Talkadot, you can allow them to provide feedback and all of that. And then it's great for if somebody else is going to book you as a speaker because
Yeah.
all of the data is there. You can actually put your freebie in there as
Mhm.
well. So you can exchange, do it all in one place, connect
Yes.
with me, leave the testimonial, you get your freebie. So that also helps, right?
It is absolutely. So finding tools like that will help you do several things at the same time, but it's the same ask. It's not you go here and then go here because that's when people do nothing and you're like, oh no.
Yes. And you also said something that really stuck with me that many people think that they have a signature talk until we actually start talking, they realize that they don't. What does that moment of realization usually look like for your clients?
I think it could look different for different people, but a lot of it is it's not connected to their offer. Because then I ask, what are they doing after this? Oh, you know what? I don't have anything to offer connected to this topic. And I'm like, then why are we even doing this topic? It needs to be connected with what they can do with you afterwards. Otherwise, because many people are so concerned about being salesy that they don't realize that they're doing a disservice to the audience if they don't give them a continuation. Like, where do I go from here? I buy your book and that's it. I listen to your podcast and that's it. I want to have something, right? Because nobody's going to be completely life transformed in 30 minutes of a keynote, right? So you've got to offer something else. So I think that's it. And the other piece sometimes is they're not, it's very connected to that. The pieces that they're teaching in their talk, they're not things that they learn when they work with you. It has to be similar. So, what is the process that you guide clients through? That's what needs to be in your signature talk because when you have the discovery call, this is what you're going to say. And they already heard it. So it's not new information. You
Yes. Oh, that's so good. What you actually do, your service, your methodology, your framework, you could do bite-size pieces of those within the signature talk, seeding them
Yes.
into the next step. And I think that you're so right. Some people just start from scratch every single time they get asked to speak. Let me just do this versus like being on the right stages with the right opportunity with the right audience that is primed to really take a next step and excited to do.
Yes, absolutely. The seeding and the priming, it doesn't have to be original. It should be consistent. That's what people don't understand. And that's why they get so concerned about preparing for the speaking engagement. Yes, please prepare and please rehearse, but don't create something new every single time you go out. Not only is that more work for you, but it's inconsistent because you want people, even if they've heard you before, to hear something similar because that's how you become known for something. That's why it's called signature. When they
Yeah.
walk away and somebody thinks speaking or somebody thinks empowerment, I want them to think Marta. And how do I
Yes.
accomplish that?
Yes.
Because I say something similar every single time. And it's on my website, right? It's on my social media. And people don't understand that. They think being repetitive is boring, but
Yeah.
that's what a brand is. You don't change. Coca-Cola is not going to change their colors every other day. That's not good
Yeah.
for business.
Yes. And that's so good because when you're thinking about it from that perspective of the sound bites, what are your particular words that you
Yes.
use and that people can connect to your brand? I think that some people miss the mark on that. No, I need a new idea. I need a new story. I need to,
It does.
yeah.
It's not helping you. It's hurting you.
Now, question, when people are thinking about, okay, I'm crafting my signature talk, do you walk them through a particular framework of how they're creating it from scratch?
Yes, I do. And it's so interesting because the more I hear very experienced, seasoned speakers talk, they use different names for the things that I teach. But the format that works is very similar. And I actually part way borrowed it from my years in my master's in English. And also, I did my bachelor's in English, but I did my master's here in America. And I worked at the Writing Center for a whole year. So I learned argumentative essays a lot. That's what we worked on with the undergrads. So that's the formula. So if you paid attention in composition class, that'll come in handy. But if not, no worries, because I can help. And the
Yes.
other piece is when I did my TED Talk, it was a very similar format as well. So starting with an intro story that talks about who you are and what you do without having to have the about me slide, the dreaded about me slide that I encourage all my clients to scrap. You
Yes.
tell a story, and then in your story, you can say, I graduated from X, Y, and Z, and I traveled the world, and this is my credibility. You don't have to read
Yeah.
bullet points, you just tell a story. Then you have a thesis, which is the main point, the main message that you have. which should be connected to the title that you chose for your talk. That's why they're there to listen to you. And then you have key points with lessons and action steps, and then your conclusion. And I like for the key points to be three. I feel like depending on how long it is and how you structure them, you could do four or five, but three is the magic number.
Yes. And it helps people to remember. Do you like acronyms or things like that where
Mm.
it can stick?
Yes. So sometimes clients already have that. So especially when I work with somebody that is an author, they already did all the work to summarize a lot of it on in writing, right? So let's
Mhm.
leverage that because then that's seeding, right? Oh, this is what I have in my book. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go through it real quick here, but you can see more in my book, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of clients sometimes we develop it together. If they're loving alliteration or if they already use some kind of that framework in their own business, or
Yeah.
coaching, we can leverage that. And then that becomes a potential book. So that's usually how it works. If they don't have books, we lead that way because then they understand, oh my gosh, I can beef this talk up and it becomes a book. That's how it should.
Yes. And the other part, I listened to Mel Robbins speak at this women's conference, and she was like, you can go buy my book, or either way, I'm going to explain what it means in 30 seconds. And even though her book out was Let Them, the whole
Mhm.
theory of Let Them,
Yeah.
but she went over the 5 second rule, which is her other book. And
Mhm.
so, like, sometimes, like, wherever they are in the moment, like, we have the resources
Yes.
for if you're here or if you're like
Mhm.
if you're not a professional speaker or you're aspiring, like there's a continuum where you can invite people who are listening, like, oh, I'm not there yet, but then you can give them hope that there's
Mhm.
still like some materials to get you started and on your way.
Yes, absolutely. There's so much out there, and you can leverage a lot of the people that you hear, whatever they're doing that's working. That's
Yes.
one of the things that you can do. And you just said it so beautifully. Even if you have more than one book, you can reference them in one sentence. And that could be what all it takes for somebody to be like, oh, I need to listen to that book or I need to buy that book.
Yes. Now, when you think of that signature talk, are there certain non-negotiables? Like, absolutely, this needs to be in it. Absolutely, this should not be in it.
Yeah. So the About Me slide is the absolutely remove that one, please. The non negotiables are storytelling. So there has to be stories to illustrate points, but there has to be a balance between that and audience centered lessons. So it's not all about you. Sometimes people have these life crazy stories of overcoming sickness or travel or
Yes.
accidents, whatever. And while that is super inspiring, that does nothing for me because I'm not you. I say this all the time when I share my triplet story. Finding out from the doctor that I was pregnant with triplets, draws drop. That's what I want. Everyone's, oh my gosh, that's insanity. But it means nothing to them after I'm done because they don't have triplets, most likely. So, how
Yes.
do I transfer that to them? That's our job as a speaker. So there
Mm.
has to be both. And sometimes people just have the concepts, right? You can stand up in front of people and tell them all day you need to drink water and blah, blah, blah. But until I give you a story of a client that started drinking more water and this changed in their life, and you see themselves, you see yourself in that person,
Yeah.
it doesn't connect. So it's the
Mm.
balance between those two things and remove the about me slide.
Yeah. No, but you know what? You also mentioned something really important, which is the transformation.
Mm,
I think that's another point that may be missed is, okay, when I work with this person,
yeah.
like, what is the transformation? And
Mm,
if we're not really clearly articulating that in our signature talk,
yeah.
like, I can't connect the dots of, okay, this person, now they're resilient, but like, how?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And especially for service-based businesses that have more intangible outcomes than others. Because mine, there are intangibles, the confidence to speak, etc. But there are the tangibles of you're going to walk away with a talk that you feel confident in. You're going to walk away with speaking opportunities. You're going to walk away with sales conversations. That's my promise. But some businesses are more about you're going to be more confident in the way that you speak, right? You're going to show up differently. People are going to notice. Those are a little bit more intangible, which is a little bit hard. But that's what I love about creating the foundation of the signature talk because you have to be clear in that thesis of yours that you're going to take somebody from point A to point B. And the way you illustrate that is through your clients. And sometimes people that I'm working with don't really have clients. They're just coming from corporate into starting
Yeah.
a coaching business. But there are ways to bypass that hypothetical scenarios. That's what I do a lot with clients, right? You don't have stories of your own clients. If you can't use yourself, that's one way as well. Just use
Yeah.
yourself, your own transformation. You could say, this company did this, let's imagine, and this other one did that. Which one did it better,
Mhm.
right? You can create
Yes.
hypothetical scenarios. And for my people that work in marketing, especially, I say, leverage the big companies. Talk about Apple, Microsoft, Coca-Cola. Those are big brands that
Oh.
people know. They don't know the details. So when you come in with those stories, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this fun fact. They're instantly more engaged and it serves the purpose of illustration.
I love that. And as you were talking, I'm just like, what's the difference between a signature talk that inspires versus converts?
Love that question because that's exactly what I do with clients. And it's again thinking about the end, having the end in mind. Like, what is it? Starting with the end in mind. So, what is your offer and what is your goal? What do you want people to do? I want them to book a discovery call. That's my world, and that's where I think what works the best because people are ready to talk to you or they would be more inclined to talk to you now that they've heard you. So, if that's your goal, then what are you offering in that call? Because to me, speaking is also what you do in a discovery call. So we talk about that, right? As well as we're working together. So what are you offering in that call? And then going back and making sure, like I said before, that they're speaking the same language. It's not a completely different offer. So that is also very helpful with that. And having those client testimonials. Having client testimonials in the talk that converts is essential, or it's essential to have it in a talk so that it will convert. Because again, I start seeing myself in that person that you described, and it's credibility. You didn't start your business yesterday, which even for the people that didn't start it yesterday, they can talk about their corporate experience or other things that make them credible. So it's adding the credibility. It's not just saying, hey, I overcame this. Awesome, good for you. It's how can you help me overcome this? So
Oh,
those elements really help.
oh, that's so good. And as you're speaking, I think something else that's missed as we're getting into the signature talks, we're getting on stages, like the business of speaking, and like where speakers are falling short. And now this is where we're going to have some fun because I see that businesses of speaking from the back of the room, right? Like you see it from the coaching side. What are the biggest mistakes when it comes to treating their speaking like an actual business?
I think the biggest mistake is they don't treat their business like a business. So the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. They think I'm going to get on stage and all my problems will be solved, meaning clients will come knocking on my door, and it's not. You still need to follow up with people, right? Because this is what you should be doing with your business. So let me give you a whole example here. You go to a networking meeting, and these are the people that are not working the business like a business. They expect to just convert by being there. And sometimes it works, right? But we can depend on that. We have to have a system of where do you keep your leads? How are you following up with them? Are you offering calls? Are you posting on social media to nurture that audience? Are you connecting with people in the DMs? Are you sending an email to your email list? So that's business one on one right here.
Yes.
Then we have the speaking side. You get on stage, many people are terrified, right? Oh, I'm preparing for this big presentation. And then once they get off stage, they're like, oh, it's done. It's not done.
The beginning.
It's the beginning. This is where then you do what you should be doing for your business. You find those people, or even before you stepped on stage, you worked the room. You talked to the people around the room. You already connected with them on LinkedIn, or you got their business cards so you can follow up with them afterwards. Or even better, sometimes you get to have the list of contacts or the people that are in that room, which, are rostered. Different groups do different things.
Yeah.
That's your lifeline right there because those people heard you on stage. They know who you are. They remember your face. So when you send them an email or a message on LinkedIn, you're not a weirdo trying to
Yeah.
sell. You're the person that was on stage. So it's
Yes.
within your right to message them and say, hey, I know you were at this event. Uh,
Yes.
that's amazing. How did you learn about it? Who invited you? You start a conversation, but the goal of that conversation is whatever it is that you offer, right? Do you do
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z? Is this something you're interested in talking more about? Let's get on a call. So, for the longest time, and I say this lovingly because I was the person that did barely anything and wondered, why aren't clients paying me and
Yes.
hiring me? We've all been there. But it's a combination, it's a journey, right? Because even when I speak, I do this, and that's how I grow my business is I speak and then I land clients from speaking, but sometimes it takes weeks, right? From
Yeah.
the day I spoke to the day they book a call to the time they decide I'm ready to the time we start working. Sometimes it's like a month or two, but I'm doing it and I'm speaking
Yeah.
somewhere else and I'm starting the cycle over here for a couple months from now. So that's the business mindset of speaking is not just getting on stage. In fact, very little of speaking is being on stage. It's the whole sales process and the behind the scenes.
Oh, that's so good. I'm just like the gems that you're dropping because I think to your point that you previously made about people feeling I just need to get on another stage, I just
Yeah,
need more opportunities. And it's if you're not strategic on the front end of what do I need to potentially automate? How do I ensure that my team knows what the win is so that they can make sure that we're connecting you with the right person? Because there's a lot of people that do want to connect with you, but they're not a good fit to be a client.
yeah,
But they could be a raving fan and like sometimes we just dismiss it like they're just not a good fit.
yeah,
But they love what you do. They may not be a good fit, but they can potentially be, I don't know what the word is. It's like a somebody that's just so proactive and just cheering you on and
yeah.
like they will share, like, comment your content. And some people just be like, oh yeah, that's that person. They always do
Right.
that.
Yeah. Building relationships is huge because you never know what opportunity is going to come from wherever. And you're doing the same thing for other people. Because there
Yeah.
are even clients of mine that I love that I would love to support, but I don't need necessarily their service for whatever reason. But I can
Yeah.
still share their posts, like what you're saying. I can still engage. I can find opportunities for them to go and speak at. So referrals, either for speaking or for clients, that's the whole business.
Yes. Now, let's talk about the speaking opportunity pipeline because I think finding gigs, pitching yourself, landing paid engagements, what does that process actually look like for someone that's just starting out versus someone that's trying to scale?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that, again, the more I am around very experienced speakers, the more I hear that there is no silver bullet. People imagine that once you reach a certain level, whatever they think in their minds it is, once I get paid 10 grand, then I made it, right? And it's very similar again to the speaking. Once I make six figures in business, all my problems are solved. No, they get worse.
They're amplified.
They're amplified.
Nobody talks about the taxes. Oh,
Taxes. Let's not talk about taxes.
right.
They increase. I'll just say that much. You pay
Yes,
more.
right.
But anyways, you make more, right? You pay more. But you're still gonna have to be pitching. You're still gonna have to be cold calling. Someone is. If you're not, then an agency is for you. But then they make a cut, right? And if you're not, your assistant is. But so for somebody that's just starting out, it starts with, again, what would you do to land another client? You would be having conversations, you would be scheduling calls. So very similarly, you I tell my clients this all the time because a lot of them are just starting out. That's who I tend to work with is when you started your business, didn't your business coach at the time or someone that you or some guru that you follow,
Yeah.
didn't they tell you to make a post and say, "Hello, I've opened a business. I'm
Hello.
here. Please send me clients," right? Or hire me. You're going to do the same thing as a speaker. You're going to say, "Hello, network. I am a speaker. I do this now. Do you know of any opportunities? Please keep me in mind." And you're going to
Yes.
be doing this over and over again in different ways, right? You're not going to say, "Hello, I'm a speaker," every single time, but you're going to be talking about, you're going to be sharing the photos of the places you've spoken for. You need your audience to see you that way, to
Yeah.
think of you that way. But it starts with you thinking of yourself that way. So it's very similar concept from the business. And then sending those uncomfortable emails and messages
Yeah.
of I have this talk, it's called X, Y, and Z. It's targeted to XYZ audience. Do you know anybody that is hosting an event, or do you have an upcoming event that I could speak to? It really starts like that with your network.
Yeah.
And then you branch off platforms or different places. There are so many resources that you could use. Thing
Mm.
is, do you have time or can you delegate it to someone else to sift through, send those emails? But I can guarantee you, the bigger speakers out there, there's somebody in their team is
Yes.
just sending emails and negotiating in the behind the scenes for them to show up and put on a show.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the team aspect, like a speaker that has a business.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see that the team is not getting all the details
Mm.
of, hey, this is my desired persona. Like sometimes they're not equipped with all of what they need. They have the task and now they have potentially an opportunity, but like maybe they don't have everything that they need to be successful to help that speaker to elevate to the level that they're wanting.
So that's the thing with as you're growing, then you're probably going to have to be investing in resources and people that know more about the industry, right?
Mm.
That can serve you better, which is a lot of the work that you do, right? As opposed to the people that, as you start off, the entrepreneur is doing that themselves.
Yeah.
After a little while, they have an assistant that can do the Google research and put it on a spreadsheet, but then they are reaching out to themselves, or maybe this assistant is reaching out. Then you get to a level where maybe you have an agency that's representing you and looking for these opportunities, but then that costs more, or they get a cut out of the speaking engagement. So you evolve depending on also how what's your budget, right? How much money are you making in your actual business? That's what people don't think about it. As well
Yes.
as I'm gonna spend $5,000 a month to get these opportunities. Oh my gosh, but are you bringing in double
Like
that
10, right?
to justify find it? And that's the thing. And again, I say it lovingly because I've been that person that's I'm
Yeah.
going to invest to be out there more. But if I'm not bringing it in, it does me no good.
Yeah. I was just speaking with someone the other day about it's a pay to play situation. I don't discount the pay to play, but I have to make sure, especially for our clients, does this opportunity make the most sense to be
Right.
on that stage? W- Like, where do you feel like within this opportunity it's going to help you get to where you're trying to go? Like, how does it help you move the needle to in the direction that you're trying to go? And a lot of times they can't really articulate that.
They just think it's a good opportunity or whatever. And again, I will say I'm not against pay to play either. I have participated in those. And I've
Mhm.
heard from seasoned speakers that say, I have no problem paying 2 grand, 3 grand, 5 grand, whatever it may be, to be on a stage that's in alignment because I have a good sales pitch. I know how to convert, right? So if I land one client, it pays for that investment and some, right? If I get two clients, even better. But are you in a position where you know you can convert your audience? So that's one of the things to keep.
Yeah. And I feel like even with converting, it's like it's a trial and error. Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? This story landed. It's like a comedian. Oh,
Mhm.
there's this one comedian. He has a notebook and he's like, that didn't land well.
Yeah.
Okay, next joke. And he's
Yep.
like, oh, that worked. And I think sometimes we just keep changing things and we don't know what actually worked
Yeah.
versus what didn't work because we're always shifting and changing and morphing into, okay, that didn't work. So let me throw the whole thing out versus let
Yeah.
me get the feedback or let me talk to someone like yourself
Mm.
to make sure that what I'm communicating connects with my business model. It connects with what I want to do in the future. And I think sometimes we're just thinking about the now versus how does that seed into the next thing?
Absolutely. Thinking about what are you getting out of it? Because some people say, "Oh yeah, I'm a speaker." And they put it in their LinkedIn bio, keynote speaker. And then when I have conversations with these people and I say, "Are you getting leads and clients from your speaking?" Not always, but I know it creates good relationships. So the answer is you're getting nothing. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're not a speaker, just to clarify. However, why are you going out there and driving, dressing up, wasting hours of your day to make connections? Like, what are these connections leading to? And that's not to say there are times when I speak to places that I don't get a client immediately from that day,
Yeah.
but then I book another speaking engagement. That's still an outcome for me, or an interview or something else. So what are you getting out of these things? That is very important as well. Like, how is this serving you?
Yeah, and I think about a couple of pieces of what you're also communicating because I think that if we're not careful, we'll continue to miss it. And I think that goes back to the signature talk and people saying, okay, I can see a clear direction to how we further connect, even if it is just networking, because there's so many touch points people have to have in order to even know that you are the expert who you say you are.
Mm.
If I now connect with you on LinkedIn, but you're not posting consistently, or
Yep.
if I'm now connected with you, but I don't get an email from you and I don't really have those different touch points to begin to trust or know and trust you,
Yes.
sometimes it's, yeah, I made the connection and it's, oh, I got on a call and it's like nothing happened. And it's, yeah, but that's not it.
Yeah, exactly. It's really pieces of a puzzle. It's not the one thing, it's the combination. And that's what's so hard. I've been in business for several years. You've seen the ads and you've seen the people that say, if you do this, your business is going to grow. This and that and the other thing, right?
Yes,
Let's be clear. It's a
yes,
combination of all of these things. And you have to be thinking about that. And that's why it's the whole ecosystem, as they say it, right? So as soon as I step off stage, I need to make sure I'm connected with this person, but not just connected. I need to send them a message and
yeah,
ideally have a call with them. And even if they say no to my offer, now I'm on their radar. So maybe they will see me at a different speaking engagement, especially since it's local. Sometimes people see me for years after we have an initial conversation. And then they message me one day and say, I'm ready now. Or do you still
yeah.
have that offer? How can we work together?
The
So
price has gone up, but sure.
exactly. Exactly. The price has gone up. It's a different format, but I'm here. And that's why we keep doing it, right? Because we can't depend on that one person because they may be a yes or a no. And that's how I'm going to be honest. I was resistant to doing discovery calls for the longest time. I used to sell courses and different things. I used to think I'll just sell. It was the mindset of I'm going to sell from my content or I'm going to sell just by speaking on stage and I don't have to do the following up. And a lot of it was my insecurity of hearing the no. But it's been
Yeah,
so freeing to have those conversations and to continue filling the pipeline via speaking, especially with
yes,
leads, because I'm not as attached to the no when they say this is confusing or I'm not. I don't know if you're the person to help me, or this is not a fit, or maybe later. Like it sucks to hear that, especially if you really jive with the person. Some people, it's oh, thank God, I
yes,
didn't want it anyway.
yeah.
Dodge the bullet. But
Oh,
some other ones, you're like, dang it, I really thought this was going to happen. But
yeah,
that's okay because tomorrow I'm speaking somewhere else. And then I
yeah.
have a whole other
Right.
list of people to follow up with, and they may say yes. So you're not going to give up on your business, right? You're going to continue on.
Yeah. I love the no because it actually saves me a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
I used to get so upset when I would see people like unsubscribe to like my emails. I used to
Mm,
get so personally heartbroken,
yep.
but I'm like, that frees up more space for the people that
Yeah.
do want to hear the message.
Yep.
And if you're not connecting with it, great, because
Mhm.
it actually helps me get to the people that it are connecting with it. And you've said something else about like different platforms. And sometimes we don't leverage what we have for free already. Luckily, we
Mhm.
don't have to pay right now for Facebook or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That could change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes instead of looking for the next stage, why don't you just create your own, go live? That is your
Mm.
stage. You can tell your story, share your journey, and be out there consistently using it in a different way. And I think you can get found there too.
Yes, absolutely. And you should be found there, right? Like we were saying, it's a combination of all these things. People want the prestige and the clout of saying, I was on TEDx or I spoke at this large conference, but then somebody goes to your social media and they don't see anything. And that's where people make decisions. I actually
Mhm.
made a post the other day because I was so proud of myself that two people booked a discovery calls with me that I did not know. So it wasn't a referral from anything. They did not know me. They found me as a recommendation from ChatGPT and Claude. They said you were the top result when I was asking about helping me get on stage or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this did
Yeah.
not come because I spoke at a conference last month.
Yeah.
This came because of my website, because of all the podcasts I've been on, because of all the posts I've put on LinkedIn throughout the years.
Oh.
Again, pieces of the puzzle, people are not even going live showing their face
Yeah.
and then they want to be on TEDx, again, that's fine. However, it's not going to be, some people are like, if I just get to nowadays Oprah, but back in the day, it's like, if I make it to Oprah, then,
Yes.
I've made it. It's no, it's a
There's more.
combination of so many different things. And you have the free one. And in fact, this is one of the exercises I do with clients. I call it, what's your next level of discomfort, right? So if
Mhm.
putting up a story on your Instagram terrifies you, that's what you're going to be doing, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how people can connect with you. If doing a podcast interview terrifies you, then that's the thing that we're going to start with because it's lower stakes, right? If going live, if hosting your own webinar, sometimes I talk to clients. I've been in this world for so long. And when I ask, have you ever hosted your own event? No. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what we're doing. That's
Yes.
what we're doing. As you're pitching yourself, we're doing simultaneously. You're sending the emails, you're connecting with your audience. As you're waiting to hear back, you do your own thing, you create your own stage.
Yes. And that's funny. When I talk to those that are looking for opportunities, sometimes people get frustrated, but If you need more stages, I'm like, you need more relationships. You need
Mm,
to be talking to more people
mm,
because that's not how getting on a stage works. A lot of these are relationships. People
yep,
know them, or somebody referred someone that based off the strength of their relationship, they're going to say yes.
absolutely.
Unless you're applying to speak on a particular stage and you're showcasing, I can do this. But a lot of these are relationship based. And I think that some people, I want to get on this stage and I have other follow-up questions. Have you ever attended that event? Have
Mm,
you researched that event? Who were their past speakers? Why don't you reach out to the past speakers? Some of it's public information of how much they get paid. So if you think you're going to get paid this much money and you look at a speaker, they may get paid a certain amount, or they did it for free, or they did
mm,
it as a favor. And there's things that tie to that. And I'm like, it's I think that's sometimes missed that it's really the relationships,
yep.
you building the relationships, you being in the rooms, in the spaces of the events that the stages you want to speak
Yeah,
on.
that is so good. Thank you so much for saying that because again, it's basic business concept. This is the same conversation that somebody may be having with a business coach saying, I need more clients. You need more connections. You
Yes,
need more. We don't want to hear that. We just want people to be like, I want to hire you because you're amazing. How did you hear about me? They're not
yes.
posting on social media. They're not talking to anyone. And it's like just the magic that it's same thing with the stages. And I love that you said, have you ever even been to that event? Because many people that come to me saying, my dream is TEDx, they've never even been to a TEDx event. They've just been watching videos on YouTube. There's a journey to be had there because it's not
Yeah.
only getting familiar with it, but it's also the process of envisioning yourself, right?
Mhm.
Step on that stage. I could do that. And sometimes they're so early on in their journey, they're not even sure of their own messaging. So it's not
Yeah.
that the selection committee is hating on you and on purpose not selecting you.
Yeah, yeah.
You're just not there yet. So you got to get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, because I think the whole I want to be in demand, it's build your brand like you're already in demand.
Yes,
Like you
absolutely.
have, and you also have to do market research on what you want to be known for in that particular topic within that industry. So somebody was like talking about careers, and there's a lot of job loss right now. Maybe that is a conversation. Or some people are like, oh, I want to talk about retention. Some people, some companies are not talking about retaining their clients. They're trying to figure out how to get rid of them. So
Yeah,
you have to be like having a pulse on
yeah,
where we are in this economy, and our economy in the States could be completely different in another country. So I think that even doing the market research and
yeah,
digging deeper about if this is my signature talk, this is what I want to be known for. If this is really my methodology, have I done the homework? And I just think about when you were talking about when you were going to school, like you got to do research and then you have to cite the sources. Where did
yeah,
you even get that number from? Even when people like are on stage, and I love to hear the data that backs up or the
yeah,
science that backs up their thesis. Because some people really sit in their rooms and, oh, that's such a great idea.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is meant for me to do it. And it's like, what's the history on that thing?
Yes.
You would be so shocked and surprised of like just learning the history of whatever it is that you want to talk about. And I think sometimes we as speakers may not do that very well, is let me just go check it out of who speaks on this topic, how are they doing, what are their methodologies. Sometimes it's similar, but I like to talk to other speakers too. Tell me about your methodology and you can see the differences of what sets you apart too.
Yes, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
it's forever learning, right? And doing your research. And it goes back to the connections and the relationships. You are attending events, you are listening to other speakers, you're connecting with other entrepreneurs, you're having conversations with your clients as well. And
Yeah.
hearing this keeps coming up. It must be something that's happening with other people as well. Let me talk to that. And a lot of my content and what I focus on has to do with conversations that I get have from with people but also with my clients because I focus a lot on let's create a talk and make sure you have stories, etc. But then I hear from a lot of people I'm not converting. Like I landed this huge opportunity and I didn't really have the back end to support it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to talk more about that. So then I create a lot of content about that. Lots of people get interested because that's it hits a nerve and they're like, I want to have a conversation with you. But it's a cycle, and then sometimes I'm focusing on something else. But to your point, it's not just standing there and saying, this is what I have to offer. It's a conversation. It's forever
Yeah.
a conversation. And it's also
Yeah.
what you're passionate about speaking
Yeah.
about. It's a combination, right? It's a combination about
Yeah.
what people need and what you have to offer. And sometimes maybe you don't have that to offer, but that's a moment for you to get educated and learn more and say, hey, I've learned. And I think especially with AI, right? Lots of people
Yeah.
that started out sharing about AI, they didn't just come out the womb knowing there was nothing to know. So they
Yeah.
learned enough to share with the people that are just starting out. And then now some people have become references, but they had to start with zero because there was nothing to
Yeah. And two things, like I love to whiteboard, right? So
learn.
I like to write down the idea, like all the things and like putting it out there and doing the read. Like I like to just, let's just take a step back because I sometimes we're too close to the actual thing. Like,
Yes.
let's take a step back and let's put all the ideas on the whiteboard of what does that lead into? So this might be the, okay, I'm trying to lose weight, but I need to lose weight and keep it off.
Yeah.
Like there's diet, there is working out, there is lifestyle changes, maybe there's friendships. Like there's so many things I like to branch off of that conversation, which connects to what stories can I tell about all of these
Yes.
different things about the friendships that I'm like, every time I go out with this person, I'm always drinking and I'm trying to quit drinking. Okay, so then I think that's one thing. But you said something about AI, and I had a conversation with KJ about AI, and she's so techie. Something that we could get better at, which she said to your point about Claude being in there as a result, she says that a lot of companies, organizations don't do this very well. You'll go to an event, they'll capture the data and they don't release the data like on their website. Because if you spit it back to AI already knows that data. But if it's your own data
Mhm.
that you put out there, out of 100 speakers that I've worked with, 50% this, and it
Yeah.
becomes different numbers that AI doesn't know. And then you get bumped up to the search, the like you are the guru because you have your own numbers and you're owning that. I was like blown away.
That's so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
so many people are still afraid of it. And I think it's such a shame because it saves you so much time. And again, it could add you to the research results for somebody that's looking. And I think it's just such a fabulous tool to help you think differently. Things you would, rabbit holes you even wouldn't even go down because you don't have the time. It, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I can't speak enough about it because I feel like it's been so helpful to me just creating the content or processing information.
Yeah.
But obviously, because I'm feeding it information, it's serving me well for people to find me.
Yes. And so I like, because here's my cue cards. Like if I was Oprah, like my cue card would be like right here. And
Yes.
I have another question, but my cue cards are right here. You've been working on a group coaching program with a big vision,
Yes.
bringing all your students together for a live event where they get real stage time. Tell us about that vision and why you want that experience to be for your students.
Yes, I'm so excited about that. I've worked one on one for the longest time, and then I realized that it could be isolating. It's helpful to see what other speakers, other entrepreneurs are doing with the same material,
Yeah.
right? In different niches, the stories that they pull out. It's just really helpful because at times we get stuck and for our own limitations get stuck in our own heads. My transition into doing more of a hybrid thing actually evolved into a community. So I have women meeting in person because they realize, oh my gosh, we're just a few hours away from each other and collaborating, doing events together, or
Yes.
inviting somebody to speak because now they know each other and they know they're good speakers because they just went through this whole training. And when I first started working more with visibility and helping people with signature talks, I started doing what I called summits, signature talk summits, where I would have my clients showcase the talk that we created together. It was just like a 10-minute thing, kind of like TEDx style.
Yeah.
So a short version of the talk that we created so that they would have that stage opportunity. They would get a recording off of it and they would be examples to the method that I was teaching. So people in the audience would learn how to create their own signature talk. And then I would say, here's an example. And then we would break it down. Did you see how she used a story in the beginning? Did you see how she did that? And this is the format. This is what you get to create. So I did a few of those, but obviously in-person stuff is hard. It's a lot of work to orchestrate and you want to have a good turnout, especially for the presenters, which it's tough to get people to commit and go out in
Yeah.
person. So I did a few virtually, but my big dream now that I've served over 50 clients in this capacity and created this community is
Yeah.
to create something in person where is that it is on a larger scale and have these clients from all over the country and even from Canada to come and present, deliver their talk and their performance. I'll be working on that. This is
I love that for you. And I think giving people an opportunity to showcase it, it just helps build that confidence.
yes.
and having that kind of discussion with the audience and giving some people really do not get coached on what they're about to present and they just go out and do it. It's again, I love comedians.
Yeah.
Like they put that joke out there and it doesn't land. And
Yeah.
it's you're an expert. You are great. You are amazing. But how you're putting it together and the order in which you're putting it together. So I'm loving this conversation because I'm like, I was reading like up about you and doing my own research, and I'm like, she came from Brazil here. And like, how was that experience, like that transition going from
Oh,
there to here?
yeah. So I'd been familiar with the culture for a while. I'd never lived, but we would visit twice, sometimes 3 times a year because my mom is a pastor and we would go to church conferences. So all over. So I was used to more than just sightseeing, which is typically what people do. I got into people's homes. So I was more aware of the culture, but it was still tough once it was like, all right, now you got to make your meals, you got to do your laundry. Like it is, I imagine, with anyone moving to a different country, you got to get used to the day to day. So I think that was a little bit tough, but on the same hand, it's what I wanted. I wanted to live that American experience and then getting to go to the professional sporting events and the concerts and the whole thing with entrepreneurship. I don't believe I would be doing what I'm doing right now if I had stayed in Brazil because I had the connections. I had a more comfortable, I had to get out of my comfort zone,
Yeah.
which has served me well, but I'm very grateful. I don't see myself living in Brazil anymore, at least not for the
Yeah.
next several years, but I'm happy to visit.
I love it. I love it. I need that's on my bucket list to go to Brazil. I
Yes,
got
you
a couple of places, so I'm gonna have to ask you more about that because you
should.
just never know. And just being in the right places and somebody knowing the locale versus, yeah, you just go to the hot spots where everybody else goes. Oh, I'm so glad that we've had this
Me
conversation.
too.
Now, for the audience who is sitting on their message right now, but hasn't booked a single gig,
Mm.
what is the first thing they should do this week?
So I would say get clear on that transformation. Start building an outline for their talk.
Yeah.
Work with AI on that. It's not going to be as good as if I do it with you. The tool is out there. And then start leveraging your connections. Come out as a speaker. That's the first step. Put your own event together if you haven't hosted your own webinar. Do more podcast interviews. Depends on where they're at because some people have already done podcasting interviews, but they're not super clear. And then they wonder, I didn't get clients out of the interviews. So everything is connected to getting clear on that message and then start seeking out opportunities. Do you know of any events that are seeking for a speaker? Start paying closer attention to speakers,
Mm,
especially the ones that people rave about and that you really resonated with. What did they do that worked so well? You got to study the
yeah.
craft.
Oh, that's so good. And then what's one thing speakers consistently underestimate how powerful their story is?
I think for the people that have something really traumatic happen to them, they're worried about bringing the audience down. And then there's the other side, people that don't have any crazy stories.
Oh,
I've led a pretty normal life in childhood. Nothing is interesting about me. Yes, there is. There's always something, and it's all about how you tell it. So
yeah.
I would say it's more about understanding how storytelling works. Because
Yeah.
going back to comedians, most of the jokes are very mundane things that they just observed and they inflated it, right? And made it
Yes.
funny. So it doesn't have to be something crazy. It could be. That's something interesting to leverage if you want to, but it's about how you tell it. So again, study the craft of storytelling.
Yes. And Sarah Blakely of Spanx talks about doing improv
Mm,
and how it helped her because she was going out there into the stores and like connecting with people. And she was just like, oh my gosh, like I just need to help loosen up. And that kind of helped with that. But
yeah.
so now, if people want to connect with you to get onto a discovery call, they can click the link. What can they expect on that call with you?
Yeah, so I really like understanding where you're at in your speaking visibility journey and where you want to go. So that's key for me to understand if I can even help you and what questions you have about where you want to go, how realistic it is, what are some of the steps. I'm happy to share my perspective and what I have seen work. And then if it's a fit, talk more about that program that you mentioned before, how
Yeah.
it works, how long it is, the investment, all of that. But we start with you. Who
Yeah.
are you and where do you want to take this message?
I love this. I'm so glad we finally got a chance to do this and we got to do it more often because I think that this is a powerful conversation and you are the real deal.
Oh, thank you
You
so much.
don't just talk about stepping into your power, like you literally coach women to do it on stages in front of thousands of people. And the fact that you moved countries, raising triplets, building a business, and sang along the way, and you were talking about multitasking and doing it simultaneously, like that is your signature, like that's your signature talk for like everyone. Like,
Yes, it
and
is.
if you're sitting on your message and you know that the world needs to hear it, Martha, like she is the person where you can help get to the next level. And so thank you so much for being on speakers
Oh,
and stages. Like you're exactly like who this show is made for. Looking forward to everybody that wants to connect with you and seeing what the results are that comes of that.
yes, thank you so much. This was amazing and my pleasure.
Oh, Hunter and Harley want to say hello. Yes, they approve.
Oh,
Yes, yes, yes.
cuties.
Yes.
Oh,
You gotta sit. There you go, Harley. Yay. Thank you,
thank
Martha.
you so much.
Oh.